Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Midnight Sports Talk, the talk show and podcast of Midnight Sports Today. My name is Brock, and we are joined with a very special guest, Darryl McBride Jr. Daryl played for the University of Hawaii football team for 2010 to 2012. Nowadays, he's become a leading figure in UH athletics in terms of voice and trying to do a lot of things for the program, along with the fact he's embarking on his coaching career. Thank you so much, Daryl, for coming to the show. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you coming. So let's just jump right into it. What have you been up to lately?
Right now, I've just been coaching and working. Pretty much that's my life, and providing for my family. Take great pride in that, and getting involved in UH sports in regards to the football team.
Yes, we have a lot to talk about in regards of your involvement with the football team. What made you want to come back and help out with the team? Since it's been so many years since you ended your playing years.
Over the years, I've been very vocal about UH football. It probably was overseen due to nothing to the extreme of what happened during the Todd Graham era. So I've always followed the program, the players that have come through and throughout since I departed, and just staying tied into what was happening there. After I left, I know when Rolo had took over the job, that kind of brought a renewed excitement about the program, and pretty much got all the way invested back into it since then.
Yeah, and you played under two coaches at UH. Greg Mackin, you were a recruit under him, and then also you finished your career the first year of Norm Chow, I believe. Let's talk about what made you come to Hawaii, and let's talk about your recruiting process. What was that like?
My recruiting process was a little bit different than what a lot of kids go through. I was actually recruited by Coach Rich Miano, and had a chance to come in 2010 and able to redshirt as a defensive back, and I think I ended up winning a Scout Team Player of the Year. And then I transitioned to a linebacker, where I was then coached by Coach Aranda, and was able to learn a lot from both coaches. I was kind of that hybrid player. It took a while for the NFL to catch up, but kind of that hybrid player between safety and outside linebacker. And then my final year playing a hybrid defensive end role under Norm Chow.
So let's talk about your coaching, because you'd mentioned two very popular names in the coaching scene, especially Dave Aranda, who just got extended at Baylor. What was it like to play under him, and did you know that he was going to go on to achieve such great things, one at LSU and two now at Baylor?
Coach Aranda is a very smart guy. Even playing at the university, you'll go in the offices just to talk to coaches, and he would always be watching film or doing things to learn. And that's one thing about coaches. You can kind of tell which coaches are special. Everyone knew that Coach Aranda was going to be a special talent in collegiate football. It was just a matter of when. So we knew what we had in Coach Aranda. We had one of the top-rated defenses. I believe it was top 3 in regards to takeaways in the year 2010. 2011, I think we fell off a little bit, but we were still one of the top-tier teams in the conference. And seeing that guy depart, you wanted nothing but the best for him, and you knew Coach Aranda was going to shine no matter where he went.
Yeah, and obviously he has. I mean, just for people who don't know, Dave Aranda, one, was defensive coordinator at LSU when they went up 15-0 and won the national championship. He's recently just finished his second year at Baylor, where he won a Big 12 championship and the Sugar Bowl, along with the fact his contract has just been extended to 2029. One of the gems in Hawaii's coaching tree that fortunately fell off. Let's switch to another gem in Hawaii coaching that you mentioned, Rich Miano. Obviously a guy with a lot of knowledge, a guy highly spoken about, played 10 years in the NFL. What kind of impact did he have on you?
Coach Miano has an impact on everyone he comes across, in my opinion. I still speak to him to this day. It's a guy I have a great relationship with, and if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't be where I am right now. So I have great respect for Coach Miano. He brought me into the Hawaii football family, and I'm forever grateful for that.
Yes, and let's talk about when you first met Coach Miano, and more importantly, your journey before you met him. As what's it like to be a JUCO player, trying to go and get those opportunities in an environment that's very hard on people?
It's definitely not cut out for everybody, but I will say it definitely prepares you for the Division I level. Going to JUCO, you have to face and fight through a lot of adversity, and just going that JUCO route and coming to it kind of already prepared me for that mentally and physically. I would say I felt as though we trained a little bit harder at the junior college level than the Division I level, due to the fact that so many players are trying to get out, and each week your spot is up for grabs. So it was one of the things we had to actually, we had to fight for. Not saying you don't have to fight for it at the next level, but at the JUCO level, it's a little bit more intense. And, you're playing with guys 25, 30, 40 sometimes. So it's a tough grind. And Coach Miano, from speaking to him from the first time, he actually watched my highlight tape as I was on the phone. And that's never been done before. And he watched it and then watched it again. And, we just kept in conversation. And, I kind of got a good feeling about it the first time I spoke to him.
Well, I did not know that. I would like to hear a little bit more. Why are players in the 20, 25, 30, 40-year-old ranges competing at the JUCO level?
It's just, adversity that people face in life. Not everyone is able to go to college right after high school. Some people, take a few years off, or, they get caught in life in general. And then some guys are like 35, 30, decide that they still have a love for the game. They watch it one day and they just want to get back out there. So it awards them that opportunity to go back out there and play.
Gotcha. That's something I didn't know about that level. I want to just talk about JUCO one last time. In my first interview, I interviewed current UH football player Dior Scott, who attended Laney College, a JUCO up in Northern California. One of the things that he also mentioned, besides obviously I don't want to use the term issues, but obstacles per se that comes with being a football player and a student athlete, was one, lack of dorms, lack of transportation, things like that. Can you speak about that in your experience?
Yeah, so just having to have like 3 other guys, sharing an apartment, and it was always difficult to find placement. But if you were able to find something, you'll have to share a room with a guy that, a kid's room. But, it's just one of those things, some nights that you didn't eat at all. You know what I mean? I just tell everyone there was a time where I was eating chocolate frosting, for a few days. And we had to eat like that just to make it to our next financial aid checks. So, it was pretty rough. Ended up meeting my girlfriend in junior college, so she kind of made things a little bit easier, because she would cook for me salmon and all those type of things, and chicken. So I kind of didn't have it as rough as everyone else because I had a support system there with me. But yeah, it's definitely a grind. And transportation. You would get those guys that had cars that you would just try to fit like 5, 6 dudes in one car. And if they had trunk space, you'll be in the trunk laying down so you wouldn't get a ticket. So it's definitely a unique situation in junior college.
Yeah, I think unique is an understatement. Let's transition to your time in Hawaii. You were obviously a Gregory Mackin recruit headed into your senior year. You're looking to make an impact, looking to really go out with a bang. I don't want to use the word world, but your football world kind of gets turned upside down when Greg Mackin was announced that he wasn't coming back. How did you hear that was going down, and what was your initial thoughts?
We as a football team kind of heard rumblings that Coach McMackin wasn't coming back. And they addressed us about it. We end up having a meeting about it. And then I actually attended along with, my teammates, Jordan Loffler, who's now at University of Nevada on their coaching staff. But we actually attended the press conference, and it was different. and you hear that you're getting a new coach and you're wanting to show out for the new coaches, and it's a good thing. When Norm Chow came in, he brought in some good guys. He brought in Coach Lewis Powell, Phil Rauscher, those guys I have a good relationship with to this day. I speak to them on a regular, especially Coach Powell, who's at Utah right now. So he brought in some great guys. I was able to continue to be coached by Coach Tony Tuioti, which played a key role in my development as well. And I can honestly say the things that Coach Tuioti, helped me with, stuck with me up until the CFL.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to jump into your professional career after. Obviously, you say you want to show out for your new coach. Norm Chow brings in a lot of great minds that you've learned from. What were some of the fundamental differences between Coach Mackin and Coach Chow?
I would say Coach Mack was more of a motivator in that regard, where he had a strong support staff. Coach Norm was a guy that wanted to be hands-on, I could say. So it's kind of a little different in that regard. But Coach Norm was on the offensive side of the ball. So, me and Coach Norm really didn't relate that much because he would be on the offensive side of the ball. So the guys that I kind of like tailored to were, Coach Tony Tuioti, Coach Powell, Coach Rauscher. He was a tight ends coach, but that guy treated us like family as well. So I was able to connect with him and Coach Carmeyer, who was our defensive coordinator that year.
Gotcha. So obviously your last year didn't go as planned. You had a really tough start to the season at first at USC, and then there was a lot of issues. Obviously, I believe that was the first year you guys played the Mountain West, a lot of transitionary period. However, you go out with a win on senior night against South Alabama. And I believe you finished the season 2-1, victory over UNLV, and then a senior night win over South Alabama. What did it mean to go out with a win and end your college career on a high note?
I could definitely say I ended my college career on a highlight because my last play was at the end of the game. I got a sack for a fumble. So that's how the last series of that year ended, and the last play of my collegiate career. So it was actually a pretty good way to go out, and I was pretty excited about it. And I was hoping that transition went smooth over to the following year, but it just didn't.
Yeah, unfortunately that happens, but you are one of the blessed people in regards of you got to don the green 8, you got to don the uniform, you got to play at Aloha Stadium. What did it mean for you to be a Warrior?
It felt different, and I played at the Juco level, but it just felt different. Just going out there, just embracing the culture. When I first got out there, I still had my junior college mindset where everyone was competition. And I still think that way today, but it was like everyone's an enemy. You know what I mean? And that's just the mentality I play with. That's the mentality I practice with. And that's the mentality I had. But just going there, I got set straight pretty quick and just got to meet some great people that I consider family till this day. That'll be my brothers for a lifetime, and I don't think I could get that anywhere else, especially the fact that being so far away from home, you have those coaches to fall back on, you have those teammates to fall back on, and I think that was kind of special and unique in itself.
Is there a moment you can point to where there was that mindset switch from what you were thinking while you were playing in Juco to then what you were thinking while you were playing at Hawaii?
It was more of a transition in training camp, I will per se. I was very competitive and, going in there with the mindset that it was like that. We used to always play Madden or NCAA. And where I'm from, we get very competitive and very chippy. I was beating everybody, and then they were like, hey, come play Kamalu Ulu. He's the best one on the island in Madden, or I think it was NCAA. And I was just beating them so bad. And then I'm just talking trash and they're just getting heated. And then we got players holding him back, players holding me back, and it was just about to be a mass rumble. And then, you know, a couple of leaders came to me, like Aaron Brown, Spencer Smith. Those guys pulled me aside, like, hey, this is how we do things here. And you know, you got to buy in if you want to fit in. And those guys are from the mainland. So just getting that from them and just being able to just, you know, connect with other players on the opposite side of the ball. Like Cayman Shutter, that was a guy who, you know, I was communicating with when I first got out there. He actually picked me up from the airport, stayed with him. He kind of taught me the ways a little bit. So, you know, that was kind of like the transition period where I, you know, realized, okay, this is what it's like. I don't need to be like this, and just embrace, you know, where I'm really at right now.
That's interesting you brought that up, because some people that I've talked to who are originally from the mainland, you know, have really talked about the culture being different. And obviously we're going to get into culture when we talk about the Todd Graham era. For people that don't know, what is Hawaii culture like for somebody that's outside?
It's really relaxed. It's a opening culture. Like, everyone embraces you with love and respect. And I feel like if you come off the wrong way, you just wouldn't fit in with that. You have to be open-minded and to new things. You know, I'm not a beach person. I'm not a person that likes to hike, you know, things like that. I'm not a very outdoorsy person, you know. So you just have to be able to, you know, embrace what people are trying to teach you, able to learn new things, and just feeling the love and giving that respect back to the people.
I think that's well put, and that definitely lines up with what everyone else is saying. And I think you see it a lot. And again, we're gonna get to it in Todd Graham era. People that aren't open and aren't willing to assimilate struggle in Hawaii. If you don't mind me asking, did you see any examples of people that just couldn't assimilate and struggled, and eventually that was detrimental to them and their careers? We don't have to name names.
I'm not going to say people in per se. I mean, I've seen it happen before, and those people kind of alienated themselves away from the team. And, you know, obviously to be a team, you have to be willing to fight for one another. So I've definitely did see that throughout the years, where people's mindset and their personality kind of alienated themselves away from the team. And I guess in a way it kind of hurt them in the long run.
Yeah, I think you put it perfectly. Let's transition from your collegiate career to your pro career. You had some stints in the NFL. You played in the CFL. Can you talk about your experiences and what it takes to play at such a high level?
So I had a tryout with the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, I believe that was the first year of Chip Kelly. And, you know, new coach, you know, I think that year he brought in a ton of Pac-12 guys. So I kind of, you know, went that route, was like, okay, this is the best team for me to try and sign on to, being as though I was from Philadelphia and new coaching staff. And it was just a transition year where they went from the 4-3 to the 3-4. So, you know, me having experience as an outside guy, I was a little bit smaller, a little bit of a tweener. So I had to move to the inside. But, you know, having my tryout didn't work out there. After about 6-7 CFL workouts, I ended up signing to the Edmonton Eskimos, who are the Edmonton Elks now, and stayed with them for a little bit. And actually, to this day, I still have a relationship with my position coach there. I'm all about relationships, and I think that's probably one thing I learned from Hawaii. You know what I mean? Like, when you find people that you really connect with, just staying connected with them, you feel a love for them, and they're family for life. And I truly mean that. And just was able to stay with them. And it's definitely a grind, man. And it's, you know, those coaches' jobs are on the line every day, just as yours is. So their job is to put the best guys out there, and you have to be willing to learn every day. You need mental toughness to stay around in the league. And it takes a little bit of luck as well. But you just have to be, you know, physically capable and mentally tough.
I think, but some people don't understand about how cool it is that you played for Edmonton. Edmonton is one of the greatest Canadian football dynasties in the CFL. Obviously, Warren Moon played for them. They won like 5 straight Grey Cups back in the day. Can you talk about the culture up in Edmonton and what that was like?
It was very competitive. I think that was the first year they signed Coach Jason Moss. He had just, I believe, went to a Grey Cup with the Ottawa Red Blacks as an offensive, or he won it. He won the Grey Cup with the Ottawa Red Blacks that previous year, that previous season. So he's coming in. He has the new staff. They had players that have been there. Mike Riley, Odell Willis, those guys. Armando Sewell, those guys are staple names. So, they were there during the Chris Jones era when they won the Grey Cup. And, those guys kind of set it like, hey, this is the standard. It's a very high standard. Practices were high paced. Stretches were high paced. You know what I mean? So everything was structured like it was the New England Patriots, but with good music. So there was a lot of Drake playing out there at practices, trust me. But those practices were intense. The rules are a little bit different. So it took a little bit to it took me a little while to transition. But once I played in my first game, I was pretty good.
Yeah, and again, for some people that might not know, in Canada they play with 12 men on the field instead of 11, right? And then multiple receivers can be in motion and have a running start before the snap. There's a lot of different things they can do. Can you talk about more of how that affected you as a defensive player and some of the things you needed to do to adjust to the game?
So I played a hybrid position. I was at defensive end sometimes, and I was at outside linebacker. So the odd thing is, just playing a yard off the ball, right? That's a little bit different within itself. And then playing off ball and just having to worry about the linemen running downfield on pass plays. It's like you got dudes that are like 6'7", 6'8", on these teams, and you got to figure out how to read run and read pass. The game is so much faster due to the field being larger. So that's a game where you have to have speed. You have to have lateral quickness. You have to learn how to read keys. Reading an offense was a little bit different. Because it'll switch up so much. So just being able to get into your playbook was probably like the most important thing. And I had a good mentor, JC Sherritt. He was the defensive coordinator at Cal Poly. He just now took over the defensive analyst job for Auburn. But I had a great mentor in him, and he helped me out a lot in that regard and getting my playbook down. So I had some pretty good on-field coaches.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm really happy that you brought the playbook, because another element of Canadian football people might not be accustomed to is, one, the end zone is 20 yards or something like that. It's a huge end zone. But more importantly, from a defensive standpoint, there's only 3 downs instead of 4.
Yeah.
How did that affect defensive philosophy? Was there times you stayed on the field too long because you thought that you had to play another down? Or was there anything like that?
I think it definitely changes the game when you get in the red zone, based off of what you can do, knowing you're in the red zone. The ball has to come out a little bit quicker, and you're just having to apply pressure. I think one thing that's a little bit difficult is when you're, fighting that, the punting situation. Special teams is a little bit different. In regards to when you punt the ball, you have to give the returner 5 yards to catch the ball. So if you get down there early, you just have to stay within, outside of 5 yards until he catches the ball, and then you can go. But that's more because the CFLs are more of an offensive game. And I kind of like that rule, but it took a while to adjust, for sure. 3 downs, if you get pressure on the quarterback, you can be off the field in 2. So that was our mindset. Get vertical and just affect the quarterback.
Definitely. We're going to talk more about your days as a player and obviously the hybrid role that you played later on in the show. I want to transition to the present. And you recently just launched a new initiative. I know you've been working on it with several other people. More notably, RJ Hollis, obviously a commentator for OC16, former Hawaii right tackle, and Kobe White, who is a former tight end for the University of Hawaii and also had a very important written testimony during the Hawaii State Senate hearing and the inquiry into the program. This thing that you guys launched is called Fruition for Nutrition. And what it's about is providing more meals and better nutrition for the players. But can you talk more about that? And what is your vision for this new initiative?
Okay, so Fruition for Nutrition was created, after reading testimonies. We read Kobe's testimony, and it's kind of no different than when I was there. Obviously, walk-ons aren't able to eat during training table. They're only eating during the season and during spring ball. So the objective behind this was, after reading his testimony, which was so touching, and just explaining how, he lost like, I think 10 or 15 or 20 pounds from his normal playing weight, was kind of alarming, but I wasn't surprised. So we created this so we can provide supplemental meals for those players during the time when they're not eating, which is, the winter, early spring, and a little bit after spring ball. And for players that stay off of campus, we're able to provide meals for them as well as walk-ons. So no player is not able to eat. Nutrition is being followed throughout the year. And, it's a good pitch for, new recruits coming in. If you don't have to worry about meals, and you're fed all year long, that only helps and gets kids more excited about coming to UH, especially if knowing you don't have to spend your money on food.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that last part out, spending money on food, because one of the things that D.R. Scott said and opened my eyes to was you guys' stipend checks. And one, can you talk about what a stipend check is from your point of view? And two, how will this initiative help with players addressing their other personal needs?
So the stipend checks, so I stayed off of campus my final semester. So our stipend checks are pretty much a 1 month stipend. I forget if it's prorated or not based on the living, but so they'll give us that stipend check. We'll pay our rent with that. Obviously, you're off campus, you'll buy your groceries, you'll pay your utilities and things like that. What I don't think a lot of people think about, and a lot of student athletes think about, is when you're off campus, most times, you're farther away from campus, but you're on campus majority of the day. So once you have to, handle your bills, the food that you bought in the house for when you're home, and utilities, you really don't have that much money to be spending on campus because you don't have that meal plan because you opted out and got that stipend check. So that's one thing that this sort of would help out with for those kids that are off campus. This would allow them to continue to eat, while they're on campus. I think that's kind of like where we're trying to attack right there, because with the walk-ons, it's the same situation. And I forgot the other question. Can you repeat that?
The last part was, well, let's just switch to a kind of a follow-up question, which might help out. Can you talk about the cost of living in Hawaii and how that affects the stipend checks?
Oh man, I don't. I've looked at some housing prices in UH in the last week, and man, it's shot up. It's shot up. So, man, I don't know how they're doing it with those stipend checks. Maybe they need to be increased, but I just find it very difficult for a kid to be able to provide for themselves, and some kids actually send money back home to their families. So they're pretty much living off of nothing. So, UH, they should probably increase it, but I'm not one in a position to do so. Just my outlook on the situation.
Right. Well, let's go back to something you can control, which is obviously Fruition for Nutrition. Obviously, you said that this is supposed to help students in the times in which they're not getting fed, to be fed on campus and such. In an ideal world, what would be the best way for this money to be distributed? Would it be to have 3 square meals every day, Would it be to have a take-home meals, to have like a snack/nutrition area? What are you thinking?
So I believe the AD announced that there's going to be a nutritional station in the renovation of the weight room. So in a perfect world, my idea is for during the season, they provide breakfast and dinner for scholarship athletes. My hope is that during the winter, early springtime, before spring ball and after spring ball, we're able to provide the same amount of meals, 3-4 times a week. And that way we can ensure that everyone's eating meals every day. Now in the springtime, I know kids have a little bit more free time. So whether that be, dinner or whether that be lunch and breakfast, as long as kids are getting 2 meals per day, I feel as though that will be fulfilling our needs, what we think the money should be best used for.
Where can people donate to this cause?
So there's a link posted, and I can definitely send you the link as well. It's our Fruition for Nutrition. We are collaborating with UH Football and the UH Foundation, and you can just follow that link and you can make a monthly donation or you can do a one-time donation. All donations are tax deductible as well.
Okay, perfect. And we'll definitely drop that into our Twitter, and two, into the bio area of the YouTube video. For everyone that doesn't know, you can find us on Twitter, Midnight Sports Today, MNS Today. So we'll have that, and we'll actually put that as pinned. We want to make sure that we get donations to the program and get players fed. Let's transition to AD David Matlin. So
yeah,
he obviously is one of the people that's helping push this thing forward from an administrative side on campus. I mean, personally, I haven't been AD Matlin's biggest fan. I've been very vocal about the hiring process, but you've publicly supported him. And I want to read a tweet, if you don't mind, that you said.
Yeah,
AD Matlin is a great guy to speak to, and I'm very positive things are headed in the right direction. Trust the decisions he's making for the Hawaii football program. Can you talk more about that? Why you said that?
Me and the AD had a very great conversation, and just went into the Twitter space, and just to have him see things, why we did it in the first place, and that it wasn't originally intended to go the way it did, and just got to talk about the football program and where we seen things going. And I think me and him were headed in the right direction. I think the public doesn't see that, but from speaking to him and being a former player, being in that locker room, being in the university, I kind of know the things that people, like typical fans, don't see. But I feel as though he's making strides and he's trying to better the program. And there are a lot of big projects happening in discussion right now that I think a lot of people will be excited about. I'm not privy to say, but he's working on some stuff. I got faith that he's going to get some stuff done, and he's working. Trust me, he's working.
Definitely, because as I previously mentioned, public opinion on him hasn't been as high as it was when he hired Nick Rolovich and such. However, one of the things that has really dampened his reign as AD was the aftermath of the Todd Graham debacle, per se. And one of the things that kicked off the Hawaii State Senate's inquiry was a Twitter space that you mentioned. You and RJ Hollis opened up a Twitter space. Several UH players, who some of them were unfortunately kicked off the team, made claims against Graham, describing that he made the football program a toxic work environment and he was verbally abusive to the players. Can you talk about why you guys started that space? What was your guys' objectives, and are you guys satisfied with what came out of it?
Yeah, I'm not satisfied how things were. Like, you never want somebody to you never want families or coaches or people to receive threats to their families and to their well-being. The reason we started that Twitter space, obviously it was following the transfer portal of Chevy Cordero. And I was like, we're looking like we have a few starters, some impact players going into this transfer portal. So we just decided to start that up with a few alum, and obviously RJ has a huge following, and a lot of Hawaii fans came in there when I believe they seen RJ talking, and then we were just talking about where we as alumni thought the state of the program was at, and what we thought was going on within the locker room, because us as former players have been in that situation before where we know what's going on. So it was only speculation. Then a few players have requested to speak, and that's where a lot of things had came out, and no one expected it to go that way, and everyone was in there, and it just got out, and unfortunately some players got kicked off the team. Hopefully those guys are able to get back on the team. Shout out to my guy Leonard Lee. But we're hoping things happen for a reason, and I'm pretty sure people are satisfied with who's in there now. So overall, I think good came out of that Twitter space.
No, absolutely. For some people who don't know, Leonard Lee had one of the more damning testimonies during the Hawaii State Senate inquiry. He was the one that basically, I don't want to use the word spearheaded, but he put things into motion, which eventually led to the resignation of head coach Todd Graham. I also want to mention, for people who may not know, to put several players transferring leaving is putting it lightly. 10, 12, almost even 15 starters had transferred out to that point. Obviously, Shevin Cordero, Darius Musau, Justice Tavai, so on and so forth. Do you think that with the new coaching administration with Timmy Chang, they're doing a good job at, one, repairing the damage made, and two, bringing in solid athletes into the program?
I think they're doing a good job recruiting locally, getting back to the bread and butter, I would say. So I think they're restoring things. I think players are wanting to prove themselves to a new head coach, and I think they're getting after it. I haven't seen too much recruiting on the mainland. I'm not sure if it's just because it's so early for the 23 class, but I think they're getting off to the right start. Casting that net across the Pacific, like he mentioned in his initial press conference. But he's doing a solid job. They're attacking it. They're attacking it and keeping it running.
Yes, and we'll definitely talk about some of the recruits Coach Chang has brought in later on the show. The reason why I mentioned that is because Coach Graham and Coach Chang had two different philosophies when it came to recruiting. Obviously, Coach Chang wants to cast a net over the Pacific. In various Twitter spaces, I've heard a lot of coaches at the high school level and maybe some junior college level talk about a lot of athletes they want to send to Hawaii, but unfortunately the state of the program wasn't such. Got people from Australia, other Pacific Islands, so on and so forth. Coach Graham was a big recruiter from the mainland, more importantly, Texas and the southern part of the United States. So it's going to be very interesting to see that happen. Do you think that if Coach Graham was still in charge and his recruiting philosophy was to continue, that he would have been able to field a successful football team for a long period of time?
That, to me, honestly, I think you need in Hawaii culture, you need a good balance, right? You need a good balance. You need to recruit the local kid. You need to make them feel wanted. You don't offer those kids once you think you're not going to get another kid, right? It's tough to get a kid to come all the way from Texas to Hawaii. I really don't care what anyone says. It's tough for a kid to leave his family, especially with the transfer portal nowadays. A kid can come for 1 year and transfer out the next. So, as far as, his balance, he didn't have a healthy balance of having mainland talent. And that was just detrimental. I don't think the fans felt part of the program, and it created a huge disconnect where I think Timmy coming in it's bringing that excitement back, but also Timmy knows that he has to recruit the mainland as well in order to compete for a Mountain West championship, which ultimately that's what it's all about.
Absolutely, and I'm very happy you brought that up too, as a disconnect, because it did seem like Coach Graham did have a huge disconnect with the fans. But weirdly enough, Hawaii media was sort of split, especially some of the more vocal voices in Hawaii. I want to bring up two voices, and I want to bring up two voices. They're called the Sports Animals. They're on ESPN Honolulu. Very well respected voices in Hawaii. To put it nicely, they had some unkind words about you. And one of the things that rubbed me the wrong way was the way they disrespected your UH career. Can you talk about their words, and do you have anything to say to them or on what they said?
Well, honestly, I don't even really know what they said, to be honest. I seen it was like a quote that they had made, but at the end of the day, I was like, okay, I still got a shot at the pros in both leagues. So I really didn't pay too much matter on it. You know what I mean? So like I said, I've never, I don't hold any ill will to anybody, and they're entitled to their own opinion. At the end of the day, I was doing what I thought was best for the program, and I didn't think the Twitter space was going to come out like that. But at the end of the day, I'm sure they're just as excited about the Timmy Chang hiring. And, I'm not sure if that's just for their ratings or whatnot, but, everyone seems to be excited where we stand now. And, pay me out to be the enemy before, but pay me out to be the savior now. So I don't know. That's how I kind of look at it. I don't really, buy into that negativity really.
Most definitely. And just for everyone out there to know, I can't quote them exactly, but basically what they said was something along the lines of no one really remembers you or your playing career. And it was kind of funny because when I looked at that, it had like 3 likes and 30 comments. So I think it's pretty evident that you're still loved in the islands. But let's talk about your new career, which is coaching. Why did you want to get into coaching and pursue such a challenging field?
So I've always wanted to be a coach. So even after my playing career, I've actually been coaching for 5 years. I have a nonprofit travel team. I've coached everything from Pop Warner to women's tackle football and high school football at the same time. So, I have busy weeks. You know what I mean? I love football. I love being around it. I've been coaching high school football for 5 years. I've been coaching football in total for about 6, 7 years. So, I've been doing that for a while on top of my everyday job, which I am a youth and families activities director, and I oversee 3 different areas. So I'm pretty busy, but I find time to do what I need to do.
Definitely. And coaching is a career that takes up a lot of your time. Do you want to coach at the collegiate ranks or possibly the pro ranks? Or are you good where you are at the moment?
I love where I'm at, but I think I'm ready, and I've been enough places where I think I'm prepared to go to the collegiate level. Obviously, I've tried to get into a few locations, and trying to take advantage of some opportunities. But if the perfect opportunity becomes available at the collegiate level, I think my talents will be headed there.
What is your goals if you're able to make it to that level? Do you just want to be a position coach? Do you want to be a coordinator? Do you want to be a head coach? What are you aiming for?
Obviously, you have to set goals. Who wouldn't want to be a coordinator one day? I mean, I just can't see myself becoming a head coach, but hey, you never know. But my first goal is to become a positional coach. I love everything about football, and coaching linebackers and DBs is my strong point. That's my goal, to get in there, get my foot in the door. I think I'm a strong recruiter. I have a travel team, and I have players from all the way from Northern California to Washington. So we have three states on one team. So my job now is just trying to market my players and helping those players land homes.
Absolutely. And for any coaches out there that are listening, on Daryl's Twitter page, you're always showing recruits in positive lights. You're always putting names out there. So if everyone's looking for some talent, check out his Twitter page, and he'll definitely lead you guys to the promised land. Let's talk about
top-tier recruits too. Top-tier recruits.
Top-tier recruits. We're going to drop Top Tier's Twitter handle in the bio as well. So make sure everyone checks that out. let's transition to UH's recruiting, especially the linebacker position. I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, they've made a splash at the linebacker position with the signing of former four-star linebacker from Mililani, Wyndon Hooley, who spent his first year up in Nebraska, redshirted, transferred back to Hawaii, so he has 4 years of eligibility, and also Malachi Teo from California high school powerhouse Mater Dei, who he's also related to Hawaii prep legend Malachi Teo. What do you think about those two players, and how are they going to impact the Warriors?
So I didn't get a chance to see Wyndon play, but I know he was a 4-star coming out of Hawaii, and I think that with 4 years of eligibility, he'll be able to come home. And I'm not sure what they're going to do with him, whether he's going to be an off-ball linebacker or a hybrid defensive end. So I'm not sure with his frame, and still has the ability to put on weight and add more strength. I like the Teo pickup. Everyone knows Mater Dei is probably one of the most established high school programs in America, outside of St. John Bosco. But I've been watching that kid for about 2 years, and he can ball. He comes from a winning tradition, a winning culture, and he'll definitely, if not make an impact this year, he'll definitely be a guy that you'll see playing a prominent role in UH's defense within the coming years.
Yes, and for people who don't know, recent Heisman winner Bryce Young was a quarterback at Mater Dei, just to show a little bit of that long lineage of phenomenal players. Let's talk about a person who played for UH and kind of played in that hybrid outside linebacker defensive end role, which is Corey Bethley. Obviously, Bethley just committed to Arizona State. What do you see in him, and how much do you think he's going to be missed on the Warriors defense?
Oh, I think he's a game changer. Like anybody who's been watching UH football, or even you don't even have to watch UH football. If you just watch UH highlights each game, the guy is a game changer. He's a quarterback on defense, solid tackler, just knows football. He has a high football IQ, and I think the move for him to go to Arizona State was probably a good move for him. I think playing in the Pac-12 will up his draft stock and get him to where he want to be at, which is the NFL.
Absolutely. And for everyone who doesn't know, he's being coached by one of the best linebacker coaches and also a really good linebacker in the NFL, the legend Herb Edwards. So I would not be surprised to see Bethley take that next step. Let's talk about the current state of Juco and how Hawaii can kind of capitalize on that market. Obviously, we mentioned the transfer portal. I believe at one point there was over 1,000 names in the transfer portal. There's a lot of reports coming out that a lot of players in Juco are getting lost because of the sheer mass of players. How can Hawaii take advantage of that market?
Well, I honestly think you just have to have, you're going to have to be able to compete with recruits. If you want the best players, you're going to have to be able to compete. So as long as you have a strong coaching staff that can go in there and compete, you're fine. I think that, like with the resources of UH, and I've reached out to him a few times to send them JUCO players who I think that can play right now. I think that I think they should just take a serious look at guys. If they are missing guys, because guys do get missed in Division I football on the whole. But I think that if you're going to go the JUCO route or the portal route, I think that you have to look at it, both ways. I know a lot of guys in the portal who don't have film, but they were rated 3 and 4 stars out of high school, but yet they don't have anything but high school film. Then you have a guy that's a junior college athlete who has updated film against collegiate competition. And mind you, junior college football is underrated, but it's some of the best football you're going to see week in and week out. Or you take those guys. And I think a lot of, not just UH, but I think a lot of guys across the NCAA will look at the portal before they look at junior college, which I think is an issue.
I see. And let's talk about NCAA in general and the transfer portal. What are your feelings on the new transfer portal? Obviously, players can enter it. They have a one-time, they can enter it, be eligible immediately. Do you think it's a benefit for college football? Do you think it's a detriment for college football? Or do you think players are using it in a beneficial way?
I think it's a benefit. because players now get to control their fate. If you get to a college and you felt as though you was lied to just to snag you away from a different school, now you have the option to leave, or your coach comes in and for instance, with the Norm Chow era, just coming in from a different coaching staff and him changing our offense from a run and shoot offense to a pro style offense. Some players, not the style they've ever played before, so that it would give them an option to just leave. So I think it's a good thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that some schools are doing a little bit, some things to convince players to end up entering the transfer portal. Because I just think it's odd that a kid enters the transfer portal and 40 minutes later he has 4 Division I offers. I just think that's just odd,
Greasing the palm
but
a little bit.
yeah, so I just think it's time, especially, and what I mean by that is being able to vet the player, like if they have game film compared to the JUCO guy. It's more that goes into recruiting than just watching the highlight tape. A highlight tape is just a resume, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, let me talk to this kid. Let me talk to the people he knows. Let me watch a full game. Let me see his best game or his worst game. And let me see what type of player he is. And I think that in a way that's kind of getting lost in recruiting today. But I do think that the transfer portal, it's a good thing.
Let's talk about NIL a little bit. Obviously, it's changed the game in terms of recruiting. Most importantly, at Jackson State, Deion Sanders out there is recruiting some of the top players in the country, most notably Travis Hunter, #1 cornerback in the nation, and one of the top players in the nation. Do you think we're going to see a shift in the power struggle in college football? And could we see colleges like Jackson State make the jump to the FBS level in the next 3 to 5 years?
I mean, anything is possible. I think Jacksonville State is making the jump to the FBS level. I don't see NIL being too huge of a deal. I know a lot of people are making a big deal out of it, and you really see SEC teams making a big deal out of it, and people talking about that. But if you really think about it, and you look at the landscape of college football, how many players actually have lucrative NIL deals? You don't see that many players, and to get an NIL deal, you have to be a marketable name. You have to be a well-known guy. So everyone's not going to get that deal. So I don't really think it's hurting college football in a whole. Now, I think it kind of helps out in a way. I think BYU did something where they signed an NIL deal, and the company that gave them the deal allowed for all the walk-ons to be on scholarship. I'm not sure if you've seen that, but it happened last year. So I think, in a way, it's a good thing as well. I mean, it just tells people like, hey, if you guys really care about the program, things like that can be done, through the NIL deal. If you have to walk on and you're for sure that this company, like say for instance, for example, with Sheraton, gives the school $1 million for football players, that could cover every walk-on's tuition. You know what I mean? So I think it's a good thing.
And let's talk about NIL one last time it comes to UH. Obviously, you mentioned local businesses supporting the programs in general. Let's talk about do you have a theory or idea of how the players can use NIL? Obviously, they have the benefit of 8 times a season. They're the only game on TV, things like that. Do you see Hawaii becoming that kind of market for players to get NIL deals?
I don't think that an individual will be able to get a lucrative NIL deal. They may be able to get something small, but I don't see anything big. Now, I think that those big corporations decide to come in and strike an NIL deal with the university's football team, then we're able to talk. But individually, no, I just don't see it right now.
I see it. And before we go into our next topic, I want to talk about coaching for a second in terms of lower level schools or non-FBS schools. They're seeing a lot of it. And I forget where Rich Rodriguez is, but he's at a school that's lower level and they're about to jump to FBS.
He's at Jacksonville State.
Right. And then Dion is at Jackson State, Q Jackson at Grambling, Eddie George is at Tennessee State. Do you see kind of like this, I always use the term exodus Look how a lot of these big name coaches head to smaller schools and then lifting those programs to higher peaks, higher sites, or is this just like kind of an isolated period in college football?
I think it's an isolated period in college football. Like, Deion Sanders going to Jackson State changed the game up, and then just didn't change it up for players. It changed it up for coaches. Like Hugh Jackson, I don't think Hugh Jackson would even consider an HBCU job if it weren't for Deion. I don't think Eddie George would have considered an HBCU job if it wasn't for Deion. So I think Deion set the standard, and he's changing the game within itself. Rich Rodriguez, I know he just got hired at Jacksonville State, so they were already making the bump up to the FBS level. So I'm not sure how much of an impact he really had in that regard. But I just think that it's just an isolated time. I think that, schools at the FCS level should really modify, and it's not just FCS schools, D2, D3s, should modify how they handle athletic scholarships. I think that if you give FCS schools, about 75 scholarships, they're able to be more competitive when they're playing the FBS schools. And that's the reason why FCS schools play FBS schools, for tune-up games or whatever you want to call it, because the bigger FBS schools pays those FCS schools to play them and to beat them, but to pay them money at the same time, so that money can fund the rest of their athletics. So I think they need to, I think that NCAA can do a better job of trying to level the playing field somewhat.
Gotcha. So now that we've talked about coaching and NIL deals, let's talk about the players in general. More importantly, high school players. Obviously, the modern day recruit is a different landscape than how it was 5-10 years ago. Obviously, there's more emphasis with websites like 24/7 and such, giving out stars. There's the Air app. There's a bunch of different ways to get to talk to recruits. I remember I was talking to Samson Ongwai the other day, and he said that he had to cut and make his own CD tape of his highlights with his music and send those out. Now players can talk to coaches on the phone. With that, it's also creating a pretty big market. And a lot of players, again, like how it is in transfer portal, are kind of getting lost through the cracks. Do you have advice for those players on how to make themselves more noticeable, more known? And what do you think about websites like 24/7? Are they a benefit to the college game, or are they a detriment?
I love 24/7 sports. I actually have a few of my guys. Brandon Hoffman, shout out to my guy. He's a 24/7 analyst. He's out in the Pacific Northwest, and he does great work. He does great write-ups, and I think they are out on the road all the time, and they put so much time and effort into their jobs. I think it shouldn't go without credit, and they do a lot for the sports. They find kids that people don't even know about. I think one thing that people misunderstand about the stars is, 3 stars get recruited for the most part, 4 stars and 5 stars, and those don't come easy. But there's a lot of 4 stars that aren't offered any scholarships. So that's the thing, it's, you never know. Just because you're ranked doesn't mean you're actually going to, get a scholarship. So I think that in a way it helps out because it markets players. And I think players, Twitter is the newest way to go now. So I think kids need to find a way to market themselves on Twitter. And you never know. A player like me may see your film. I may retweet it. And then someone that I know that's at the collegiate level may end up, seeing, oh, I like this guy. Let me do some more research. So, it's just like getting into college coaching. It's about who you know what I mean? So just try to market yourself, make sure you're being clean on all your social media handles and just going about it that way.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. How much emphasis do coaches put on what players post on social media?
Me as a high school coach, I tell my varsity players like, hey, make sure, if you're not posting workouts, you can post about stuff that shows your personality. I don't want on your social media to be all about football or all about basketball or any other sport. show that you have a personality, right? Get people interested in you as a person. Football is what you do and it's not who you are. So you got to be able to market yourself as a person and a football player. So I think, I tell my players just to have a healthy balance between both, and hopefully, you catch the right person eye, and they're offering you something that, can change your life forever.
And let's talk about that offering process. Obviously, you went through it. There's a lot of players that have multiple offers on the tables to various universities. Do you have any type of advice for them on what schools they should pick or what should they look for when selecting a program?
So I know a lot of people say, oh, I got 40 offers. I'm blessed with my 40, 50 offers. But a lot of kids don't realize a lot of offers that go out now are not committable by signing day. And I'm not sure if you know what a committable offer is, but a coach, say for instance, I'm at Azusa Pacific, which they don't have a program anymore, so I'm just going to use them. I'm Azusa Pacific. I offer this kid Jackson January 1st, right? I check in once a month with him. Typically coaches check in like once a week. I check in once a month with him. Come up signing day, I'm the coach. I know he committed to us, but I'm not going to send him the paperwork, because it's not a committable offer at that point. I don't know if you've seen the little metric or picture posted the other day. I think West Virginia or a school in the SEC sent out 348 football offers. You can only sign 25. So, for the most part, those offers aren't going to be committable. So I think that when it comes to picking a school and dialing it down, really try to build a relationship with your position coach and then with the staff. And when I tell kids, hey, don't only have the school recruit you, recruit the school. So find out who those coaches are as people outside of football. Ask them how they're doing, how their family is doing, and ask them more questions about their school and not just about football, because you have to realize it's a 4 to 5 year commitment, but it's a 40-year plan. So the kids have to seriously vet the process and not get caught up in, oh, I got this offer, and start to figure out what type of people are actually recruiting you.
So let's talk about those committable, non-committable offers. How far out from signing day do you get those papers? And are coaches up front with, hey, this is not a non-committable offer, or do they just not see anything? You got to figure it out for yourself.
No, most coaches aren't up front with it. They'll just ignore you. You know what I mean? You'll know if the offer is committable if the coach is like consistently talking to you, like, always blowing up your phone, always talking to your coach or something like that, contacts your family. You know what I mean? You will know if that coach really wants you. If the coach doesn't really check in on you and it's just mute, he just stopped texting you, he stopped responding back to texts, you kind of get the gist that, okay, it's not a committable offer, right? So if I have a 5-star kid and a 2-star kid, and a 5-star kid and the coach is recruiting both, and he's calling the 5-star all the time, and he's calling you at the same time all the time, and then come, early signing period in December, you call him, you would think you're important, but he never answers the phone, and he never calls you back after like 24 hours. You would think that if he wants you, he'll make sure he responds back to you, and if he can't call you, he'll text you. So things like that, kids need to understand and realize that, though you may have 50, 40, 30 offers, how many of those offers are really committable? That's why you have to really do your research and get to know the coaches, on more of a personal level than just a football coach's level.
Why do coaches do that? Why do they send out non-committable offers?
I think they just want to pique the interest. You know what I mean? They just want kids to feel like, hey, you're on our board. We like you right now. But at the same time, if I offer you today and you end up regressing during the football season, like, you're not going to see a kid post, oh, I'm decommitting from so-and-so. You're like, well, that was the only school you had an offer from. Like, why are you decommitting from a D1? You know what I mean? It's easy to commit to a Division I program if you have no offers. You know what I mean? But, If a kid is committed to a D1 school and that's the only Division I school offer he has and he decommits, you're like, yeah, most likely, they most likely didn't have a committable offer for him or told him he wasn't a fit.
Gotcha. That's a very tricky world of recruiting, to say the least.
Yeah, a lot of kids don't know about that. A lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I always knew. I don't want to use the word shady, but I always knew it was a very secretive type of world, and that just shined a light on it. Let's talk about being a player, right? You recruit, you go obviously off to the college, you move in, everything. What is a normal day like for a student athlete in the season? Or what can these college
expect? Pretty much all day. At UH, then we wake up at 5:30. Go over to the training room, get whatever you need to get, taped, things like that. Like 5:45, it'll open up. Get in the hot tub or whatever. Get stem treatment, things like that. Practice started at 6:15. You'll be out there from 6:15 for early walkthroughs. And then practice started at 6:30, you're stretching, and then 6:30 to like 8:30 or 8:45, you're out there. Then obviously you meet with your coaches after. Then you have training table because your first class is at 10. Training table from 9 to 9:45, class from 10 to like 1:30. Then, you either have weights or something like that. And then, offensive be in film, you'll be in weights, and then you'll switch swap. And then you'll go into your special teams meeting by like 3:30. And then 3:45, you'll go into your team meeting. And then after the team meeting, you'll go into your positional meeting when you're in there till like 6 o'clock, 6:15, like, coach, I got homework to do. Then you'll go eat dinner from 6:15 to like 7 o'clock. And at 7 o'clock, you're in study hall from 7 o'clock to like 8:30. And then when you get out of study hall, you just repeat the same process over and over. So it's really not for everyone. And, I get that. But it's a really grueling schedule, and it's repetitive. But, you have to be in love with the process in order to be successful on Saturdays.
Yeah, I mean, that is a intense lifestyle. How are you able to maintain balance in your life with such a busy schedule?
I don't know. I just love football, so I just did it. I didn't go out when I was in college. I wasn't much of a partier. I was an Xbox guy. So on my time off, I'll be playing my Xbox. I'll be playing Madden or NCAA or a little bit Call of Duty back then. But I just found a way to stay busy. And, obviously being in Hawaii, there's, definitely a time difference. So speaking to my family in Philadelphia, it was a 6-hour difference. So by the time I get done, I wouldn't have the time to talk to my family. And then, just having a family back in California, 3-hour difference. So it was tough, but, I had to get through it, and, I enjoyed the process. So it kind of helped me out.
Yeah. What is as a former player and now as a coach, what is your vision for the UH football program?
To get back to the brand of football that everyone's used to seeing. I think that the run and shoot offense is a staple in Hawaii football culture. You know what I mean? Like you look at the years, and when Hawaii runs the run and shoot, we're successful. When we don't, we don't. You know what I mean? We're not. So I think just getting back to that brand of just seeing so much excitement and I think COVID definitely did play a role in both Todd Graham era and not being able to have fans there was kind of hurt the team in regards to some games I think they should have won. But I just seeing we need to see more excitement, and hopefully we can pack our games out like those Kahuku championship games.
Yeah, wow, those are sick to see. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Daryl. Before we go, I just want to revisit Fruition for Nutrition one last time. Obviously, it's supposed to help feed the student athletes and everything like that. Can you just repeat for us where people can go to donate?
Okay, so we have a link. I'm not sure if it's posted on the UH Foundation website, but I will do some digging on that. But you can find the link, post it. It is pinned to my Twitter page. It's also pinned in a couple of groups. uh, Warrior football groups on Facebook. And I know it'll be put in the link below, I think. Yeah, you're able to follow the link there. And, if you ask any questions, you can reach out to me via Facebook or Twitter. I can definitely share more information with you in regards to the Fruition for Nutrition Fund. All 100% of the proceeds go directly to the nutritional program for the meals that we're trying to provide for the football team.
All right, perfect. Once again, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it, and I hope we're able to get this get Fruition for Nutrition underway and definitely feed the players. Thank you so much, and for everyone else, we'll catch you guys next time. Bye. Hello, everyone. Once again, I'd like to give a special shout out and thank you to Darryl McBride Jr. Daryl, RJ Hollis, and Kobe Wyatt helped spearhead the Fruition for Nutrition initiative. However, that needs your help. If you would like to donate to the cause, the link for it will be located below. If you'd like to donate to Midnight Sports Today to help us with our continued efforts of covering sports, especially the University of Hawaii football team, you can donate as well. There'll be a link for that below the video. So breaking news coming out of Manoa today, the 2022 schedule has just been released and the University of Hawaii will begin their season August 27th against Vanderbilt. So definitely right around the corner. We're looking forward to a lot of great hard-hitting action under head coach Timmy Chang and his staff. If you'd like to support the channel and support our initiatives, you can do so by just simply subscribing to our YouTube channel. Hit that subscription button below. If you'd like to follow us on Twitter, you can find us at MNS Today. Once again, that's at MNS Today. I really appreciate all you guys listening. We hope to come back with more articles, more interviews, more content to you guys very soon so we can talk sports, debate, and just enjoy of our love of all sports, and especially the University of Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. All right, till next time. Talk to you guys later. Bye.